What does it take to become a homeowner in Louisiana? Hey, if you want to be a first-time home buyer, you're going to want to check out this video today because we're going to be answering the question, what are the requirements to become a first-time home buyer in Louisiana? Hey, my name's Channing. I'm the owner of Bayou Mortgage. Thanks for checking out the YouTube channel. If you like the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel because we're going to be putting out more content every single week just like this. But let's answer these questions. What are the requirements to purchasing a home in Louisiana for first-time home buyers? And there's a few different things we need to look at. First, we need to ask ourselves, what is a first-time home buyer? And technically, a first-time home buyer is someone who hasn't owned a home within the last 3 years. When it comes to conventional loan programs, that's all they care about. If you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, they're going to consider you a first-time home buyer. Now, when it comes to some of these other programs that you may be curious about, like the Louisiana Housing Corporation or the New Orleans grant programs, or the ones in Baton Rouge or Lafayette, all of these different ones, they're actually going to require you to be a literal first-time home buyer, meaning you've never owned a home before. And so if that is you, next thing we need to understand is, well, what are the requirements? What does it take for me to own a home, right? Everyone has a different reason for why they're looking to own a home. Perhaps you rent and you're tired of renting. It's, you don't like the area that you live in. You don't care for your neighbors. You don't like that you don't have any control. Maybe you live with family and that's beginning to get stressful. Whatever the reason is, what are the requirements to become a homeowner? And they're probably less than you think. And so what we know is that by and large, the down payment is the biggest hurdle. It's the biggest obstacle to purchasing a home. And so that's going to be the key determinant on whether or not you get to purchase a home, is going to be your down payment. Now, with that being said, you don't need a large down payment in terms of percentage to purchase a home. And if you have decent credit to good credit, you may not even need a down payment at all. There are programs out there like USDA that, if you're going to buy a house outside of the major cities in Louisiana, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Lake Charles, Shreveport, Bossier City, Alexandria, on the outskirts of those towns, you can utilize that program and you don't have to put a down payment down at all. There are programs for veterans. If you're a veteran in Louisiana or you're active duty and you've been active duty for a while, you can use a VA loan, and the VA loan has no down payment requirement. And then, of course, there are down payment assistance options as well, like the Louisiana Housing Corporation, like the CAFA grants, like the different grants that you can get from various parishes, Jefferson Parish, New Orleans, all these different parishes and cities also offer opportunities to help home buyers get into homes without needing a down payment. The key for those is you need to have decent credit. And so if you don't have typically around a 640 credit score or higher, you're going to need to come up with some type of a down payment, typically 3 to 3.5% down, because you're likely going to have to go 3.5% down with FHA if you're under a 640. Now, FHA is extremely flexible, so that's the great news. It's one of the most popular loan programs in the country. They've recently reduced their PMI, and their rates are already cheaper than conventional 9 times out of 10. So for most people, FHA loans just simply make sense. And in fact, most of the assistance programs are piggybacked on an FHA loan. And so you get the FHA loan, and then they give you the money to go towards your down payment. And then as a lender, we also have other lenders that provide us with grants and down payment assistance programs as well. So the down payment being the biggest hurdle, the biggest requirement, there are ways to mitigate that by not having to put a down payment or not having to put a large down payment down. Now, it is a good idea, requirement number 2, it is a good idea to have a decent credit score because it's going to open up more options for you. And so most down payment assistance is going to require you to have 620 to 640 credit score. And then they're going to look at things like your history as well. Are you making a lot of late payments in the last 12 months? Those types of things can really hurt you. Now, collections and things like that, not a big deal with FHA, but making sure that you have a score within that range is. And so that's another one of the requirements. And then finally, what is your income, right? If you're making $2,000 or less a month, I'm just going to be honest, even maybe $3,000 or less a month, it can be very difficult to qualify for traditional financing because of something called debt to income ratio. And I'll link just articles beneath this video that we have on our site that kind of explains all this stuff for you. But you're going to have an issue because you can only use 50% of your gross income minus your debts. And so if you're making $3,000 a month, that leaves you with $1,500. And then if you've got $500 or $600 a month in, payments to, an auto loan or a credit card, now you're left with around $1,000 a month you can spend on a mortgage. And that's getting harder and harder to come by in this state, especially if you're not going to move out into some faraway town that's way outside of the city limits, a house that's $60,000, $70,000, $80,000. Now there's programs available like the USDA direct loan where you go directly through the USDA that will allow you to, if you have low income, they give you a subsidized interest rate. So there are options available, just not traditional options. And of course, everything you do, right? If you get down payment assistance, if you don't put a down payment down, there's always a trade-off. And so it's understanding what those trade-offs are and determining if you want to wait to save more money or if you want to just go ahead and utilize the program that's available to you now. And so those are going to be the key requirements when it comes to Louisiana first-time home buyers and understanding if you qualify for a first-time home buyer program in Louisiana. When deciding whether you want to purchase a home or not, I think the question has to be about affordability. And so can you afford to purchase the home? Is the monthly budget for purchasing that home within your price range and within the scope of what you can afford? If you're paying $700 or $800 a month in rent, it's going to be difficult to find a mortgage for that. But if you're paying $1,500, $1,600 a month in rent, you absolutely could be owning for the same price that you're paying rent in and building equity, even with high rates, because the rate of rent is 100%. You're not building any equity. And so when you own a home, it's going to be like a forced savings plan. It's going to force you, as you make that payment every month and you draw down the principal balance, your home builds equity and it becomes forced savings for you. So those are the general basic requirements of first-time home buyer programs in Louisiana. If you want more information on one, there's going to be a link where you can actually click and see if you qualify. Get in touch with us. We help people all over the state of Louisiana purchase homes. We'd love to help you as well. And if you have a question about anything I said, drop me a comment in the comment section below, and we'll shoot back an answer to you. So I'm Channing, and I look forward to talking to you soon.